Okay, I lied a little bit. We're not going to look at, right now anyway, a very traditional Gregorian chant kind of thing. What I want to look at instead is something very similar to a chant, but this is more of this is a setting of a mass. It's very old, so it's around the time of a chant, but this has more polyphony to it. So it's more of a vocal piece for multiple voices. A chant, we expect kind of one line, and by polyphony, what I mean is more than one line at a time. You can kind of see like this is a line, and then this is a line, and then another line enters here. That kind of polyphony didn't come in chant, strictly speaking, until a bit later. This is a piece by Josquin, a very famous composer of this era. This is probably one of his most famous pieces. It's an excerpt of a mass he wrote, probably the last mass he wrote in his life. This dates from around the year 1515. So, before we listen to it, I just want to point out, when you hit play on something like this, in something like MuseScore or any other program, you're going to hear these synthesized voices trying to sing it. And it's not going to sound good. I kind of hate the synthesized voice sound. This is what it sounds like. It's not very elegant. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to put this on the screen, but then I'm going to play an actual recording of humans singing it. Let's hear the whole thing just to get it in our head. It's about 3 minutes long. And then we're going to, and while you're listening to it, see if you can take a guess on what mode it's using. Okay? Just think about the way it sounds, and if any mode comes to mind. Okay, here we go. And then this file goes on to the Gloria and more of the mass. Oh, wow, this is like the whole thing. Wow. Cool. But let's just look at the Kyrie. Okay, so any guesses what mode we might be in? This one's going to work a little bit different than the Simpsons theme when we look at the notation. Because if you were scanning this for accidentals, right, flats or sharps, or even naturals, if you were keeping that in mind while we looked through it, you didn't see any, I don't think. None, right? So, does that mean they're just in a major or minor key because there are no accidentals? No, it doesn't actually. Let's think about this. Let's look at just this first phrase. And I'm going to have to do the cheesy vocal thing. Now, I want to hear just this first melody. Okay, probably all the way up to about here. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of the stuff around it so that we can just focus on that. Oops. Okay, let's just listen to this melody. Okay, one time. Okay, now, what key are we in? Let's start there. What key signature are we in? So 3 flats, that means either E flat major or C minor. Those are our 2 options based on the key signature. Okay, so let's look at E flat major. Show me where we have E flats. Because the more E flats we have, the more that's going to tell us that that's the key we're in. Okay, so there's one. There's another one. And there's one. So we have 3. They're not at any kind of significant points. This one is not on the downbeat, which would be right here. This one is on a 16th note, a very fast note right at the end of the bar. This one is on the halfway point of the bar. So that's kind of a strong beat, but not really strong. So let's see about C minor. Where are our C's? This is on a downbeat. This is our first C. It's on a downbeat, but it's a very short note. Here's another one, extremely short note, just a 16th note. And that's it for C's. So neither of those are really great options. What it looks like they're doing is really emphasizing this G, because we've got 2 of those right away. And if we look through the whole piece, what we're going to see is a lot of emphasizing of G as the tonic. But remember, our key signature is telling us C minor or E flat major. Neither of those makes sense if we're going to call G our tonic, unless we are in a mode, right? Because check this out. So if we were in the key of E flat major, remember the pattern of modes, right? It goes Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian. Those are the 7 in order. So if we were in E flat major and we went up to a G, right? That would be E flat would be the first one. That would be if we were showing a key signature of E flat and we're using E flat as a tonic and we wanted to talk in modes, that would be the Ionian mode, right? If we were in the key of E flat but showed a key signature of F, that would be 2, we would be using a Dorian mode. If we were in the key signature of E flat and were showing and using G as our tonic, which we are here, that means we are in the Phrygian mode. Okay? So we did the opposite thing, right? Instead of looking for key signatures, we just put the key signature of the mode on it, right? So we're showing the key signature of E, but we're using the 3rd scale degree as our tonic, which shows us Phrygian. So this is all around Phrygian. There's not a single accidental in here, which means we don't go out of Phrygian. Doesn't mean we don't change chords and move around different chords within Phrygian. But this piece is all based on Phrygian. We can tell by figuring out what the tonic is and what the key signature is and finding an intersection of those two things. It's a beautiful piece, right? A lot of this music is just so beautiful, and you hear it in a big reverby, echoey church, and it's just beautiful. Okay, I'm going to give you this file in the next segment so you can play around with it and listen to the whole thing. If you just Google the names of these pieces, if you just Google this, you'll be able to find recordings of it in various beautiful churches that sound really nice. So don't get bogged down by listening to the playback of MuseScore. The MIDI, the computer playback of these kinds of things, it can be okay on something like a piano, but when you get into like vocals, it just sounds like, I don't know, it just doesn't sound as good as it should. Okay, so I'm going to give you these files, and then let's talk about another fun one after that.